210.
210. We have done ISA 2
20 and 320.
300. 320 we did?
Materiality and planning.
Yes. Is it? Now, the one, this I will ask you, okay? Just to remember this. Is it fine? When you are doing this 315, is it right? What is the 315? Identifying and assessing the risk in terms of what? Understanding the entity. This is the third part of our lecture. Is it? Three things. You understand this, it's very easy. Now, what is the concept of understanding the entity and its environment? You see, you are making a point that you classify. Is it right? See the things. Audit is very specialized segment. It's like a medical profession, very simple. Is it right? You are talking about different clients. Okay, there will be clients from banks. Is it right? There will be clients for airline industry. There will be clients from tourism industry. Is it right? Tourism. There will be client from automobile industry. Is it right? There will be client from construction industry. Is it right? And there will be client from IT industry. Okay. See the thing. First, assume that you are talking in terms of banks. Is it right? You are an auditor and you are talking banks. Again, banks have to be, you know what is the banking system and in which bank you are doing. Are you going for a commercial bank? Is it right? Are you going for an Islamic bank or you are going from a central bank? Or you are taking into consideration the foreign banks. Know the entity first. That's what it says. You have to know. Yes, if you are talking about the commercial banks, okay, if you are taking into commercial banks, again you have to be very specific. Is that you should know in the commercial bank, if you take bank X, bank Y and bank Z. First, when you talk about the banking, see, I'm giving you a complete view of what we are going for the next 10 slides, okay? When you talk about the commercial banks, you should know who are the competitors of X. Yeah, competitors of X and X is Y and Z. You should know that what is the capital of X, Y, Z. Is it right? You should know what is the size of X bank, Y bank and Z bank. Is it right? You should know what is who are the management. Is it right? As an auditor, you should know. Is it right? You should have very clear picture on these areas. Is it right? You should know you should know what is the capital structure is there. Is it right? You should know what are the regulations are there. Is it right? You should know. Once you have this in your mind, automatically what will happen? Your task will be easy. Got my point? You say that yes, I know the management, I know the competitors, I know who are the regulators, I know what is the size of the bank as such. Is it right? You will have a the clarity will increase. That is the reason whenever you are talking about the concept of risk, is it right? Concept of risk, you should know the entity and its environment. Then you will judge, yes, how much will be the risk is there. This is very specific with respect to the one which we are going to work it on. Okay, that's the only thing. I gave you the entire summary in one specific slide. Is it right? You should know what is what. Then only you will be in a comfortable position to evaluate, to assess the risk of that client as such. Is it right? Now, what it says, what are the key points? Is that auditors need to know, is it right? Auditors need to know the client, the environment. Is that there are two things. Auditor has to be very clear. One side you should know the client, and one side you know the environment. What you know about the client, they will ask only these points, and they will not ask all the points. Understand the point? Again, I am saying they will give these many things. They will ask any 5. They will ask any 3. Okay. Now, what you should know about the client? What are the activities they are doing? Who are the management? How the systems will work? Whether clients have controls or not. Is that slowly I am talking about the controls, test of controls. Is it right? Two things. Controls are there. If you say that yes, that organization has very good controls. Is that as simple as that? The moment you are entering the organization, you will have that the biometric system is there. You are accessing your computer, biometric system is there. You are transferring something, but it will be have a the logging system will be there. Everything will be recorded. Is it right? Controls are there or not? Every transaction have controls. Every individual, every staff member is having the controls or not. That's very important. The more the controls, the lesser is the risk. Is that? Next, we are talking about what we are talking about, whether we are talking about accounting policies. What are the accounting policies they will follow? Is it right? Assume accounting policies is very like this. You are talking about depreciation. Is it right? Which method they will follow depreciation? Inventory, which IS2, which lower the cost or net realizable value. Is it? Depreciation, valuation of assets, fair value, historical value, market value. Is it right? Realizable value. We should know what are the policies they are doing, cash flow statement, how they will do. Is it? Likewise, we should know the client. When we are talking about the knowing the client, we are talking about the activities, the management, the systems, what are the systems are in place, how the things will process within the organization, accounting policies and the risk factors. Next, what is related to the environment as such? That's very important. Is that we are talking about which type of industry? I told you, if you are talking about banks, commercial banking, Islamic banking, foreign banks, regulators, is that you have that. This is if you take all the commercial banks, it is one of the part of the banking commercial bank industry. Is that you should know the industry of airline industry, telecommunication. Is that if you are talking about telecommunication, you should know who are the players. Is that you should know who are Omantel is there, Orido is there, Vodafone, new companies coming, new entrant is there. How the Vodafone will have impact? Is that what is the role of Vodafone? What is the you should have that in your mind. Who are the lesser press? We should also think Rena is there, Friendly is there. There are so many small companies are there. Is that now you should have that thing in your mind in terms of competition. Next, how they are using the technology. Every other organization will not the more you spend, you more you will use technology. Is it right? Which step now? You should know what are the laws and regulations for airline industry. What is the laws and regulations of telecommunication industry? Is it right? You should know laws and regulations of the banking industry. See, this is the way. Auditor is nothing but you should have a complete command over the subject. Is that you are talking about who are the stakeholders? Is that how the financing will work? That's very important. In terms of what? In terms of capital structure. Who are the trading partners with whom they have memorandum of understanding, with whom they have the collaboration? Is it right? Who are the trading partners within the country? Is it right? Within the country and internationally. See, now you will understand. Yes, audit is not only a concept of audit. Is right? We should know. We have to. Most importantly, we should know related parties. Who are the related parties? Is it right? We have. If you, I don't know. If you have, whenever you are dealing with the related parties, you should make sure that known parties. Is it right? What is the related parties? What I will give an example here. You are running a group company. Is it right? You are running a group company. In the group company, you have different divisions. division 1, is it right? Division 1, division 2 and division 3. In your graduation, in your bachelor's, you have done something on transfer pricing. If you remember correctly, you will done some calculations on transfer pricing, cost and management accounting. Is it right? That transfer pricing is related to the related parties. You should not, when you are selling to the related parties, you should not charge high, nor you should charge less. Understand? You have to make sure that, because when you are going at the client place, you should evaluate from different angles, and most importantly, there are any disposals are there and there are any acquisitions are there in terms of mergers. Is it right? In terms of how two companies will merge, you should know how the environment is working. Is it right? This is very important. Is that one side you should know the client, one side you should know the environment as per 315. Is that as per ISA 315? Remember this. I will ask you randomly. Make a list. Okay, just write ISA 200, this one, ISA 210. They will not ask you specifically, but if you mention it, if it is needed in the examination, you will get a advantage in terms of marks. Is that? Now, why it is needed? Information. You and your team, is it right? You and your team discussion and experience. Is that? It makes to understand. It may have our team, audit team can have a lot of discussion and you can have an understanding about the thing. Is that your firm, how the firm is working, how the client is working, and what are the external sources. From where you get this information? You are getting the information from discussions and experience, you are getting information from your firm, you are getting information from the client, and you are getting information from external sources. Nobody will provide this information. You have to drill down. Is it right? You have to drill down the information so that you can have a good understanding. Tomorrow you are assume the moment you are going to a client place, you should not just wake up and say that as I am having a job at this place, I have to go and I have to come. No. Doing audit, it comes secondary. You should know what you are doing, how the things will work, and you have to know that how we have to approach, how you have to plan the audit. This will help us in planning the audit as such. What does now it's why does an auditor need to understand the entity? It's not almost done, is it right? To identify and assess the risk of material misstatement. That's very simple, is it right? You want to know the entity, is it right? I will not say, I don't want to say. You will have so many organizations, is it right? Some organizations are very structured, very planned. Some organizations are not that much planned. If it is planned, you assume an audit in an organization will have very structured internal audit. Very structured. Is it right? Automatically, when you will say that you are going to an organization and saying that you are asking for internal audit reports, they are doing internal audit on monthly basis. Is it monthly basis they are doing? And it is going to be reviewed by what? It is going to be reviewed by audit committee, and it is reviewed by whom? It is reviewed by the management. Every month you say structured file. The moment you ask, they will put everything on the table. Yeah, these are the things. Automatically you say that yes, the risk is less. Is that in some organizations the moment you go there and you ask them, after some time they'll say that yes, they will give so many excuses. Is it right? Automatically you think that the audit risk is more. Fine. This is the message which you are going to get to identify the risk. To enable auditor, based on that, what you will do? You will design and you will perform for the procedures. If the risk is less, is it right? If the risk is less, what you are doing? You will do restricted procedures. In the first slide, it is there. Is it right? I told you this slide will be there in every other lecture. This will be there. Is that next lecture? The moment I will start, I will again come to this point. Is it right? If the risk is high, is it right? If the risk is high, is it right? You do what? You do substantive procedures. Little bit early, I will come in I will tell you in detail about these substantive procedures. Is it right? Totals means you will assess the risk. Very simple. It's like you will just, as an auditor, you will have a professional skepticism, questioning mind. You will have a professional behavior. Is it right? You have the objectivity. You have the integrity. Is it right? Straightforwardness. The moment you go, you can measure. Is it right? How the response is there. You will design. If the risk is less, you will not go in that much detail. The moment you sense the risk is high, you will do substantive procedure. It talks about what? It talks about provide a frame of reference in terms of the audit judgment. Is that then if the see what happens? Assume that if the risk is high, is that definitely we will think that we will go with respect to the materiality. Is that right? Materiality, how materiality will be related. Definitely you will have lot of doubts on that. Now you understand why we want to understand the entity. We want to understand the entity is to know the amount of risk involved, to design and perform procedures, and to set the materiality as such. Apart from that, what does an auditor need to understand entity? That's very important. Understanding the entity 315. Is that? Understanding the entity is ISA 315. You want to know how the industry will, what is the type of industry, is it? What is the type of regulation? Airline industry, different regulations. Telecommunication industry, different regulations. Is it right? Telecommunication Regulatory Authority of Oman. Is it right? You will have TRA. Is it right? You have like airline industry. You have different regulators. Banking regulators are different. Is that you should know regulations. You should know what are the laws, what are the regulations, and you should know what are the external factors, how it is going to be influenced. Subsequently, we are talking about financial reporting network as per IAS and IFRS. Is that why we want to know the entity? We want to know in terms of what they are doing, operations. Is it right? Who are the owners? Is it right? Who are the people in terms of what? In terms of directors. Is it? What is the structure and of financing? Is it? What is the capital structure? How much they borrowed? How much they have invested? Is it? Selection application of accounting policies as such. As simple as that. Is it? When we are talking about, see the thing. When we are talking about IAS 16, is it right? IAS 16 we are talking in terms of fixed assets. Is it right? Every company will have fixed assets. Or the moment you say it's a fixed assets, we will say we are very much concerned about what? We are concerned about depreciation. Is that we are concerned about depreciation. Somebody will use based on their requirement. Someone will use straight line method. Someone will use return down value method. We should know the reason. Is it right? We should know the reason. We will cover this in lecture 8. We should know the reason why they are using straight line method, why they are using return down value method. We have to compare last year which method they have used, this year which method they have used. Is it right? You should make a reconciliation. Is it right? All things will have its implications. Is that is the reason? I'm just giving a small example of an fixed assets. Is it right? Now we have done in the things. Is that we want to know three basic things: the objective of the firm, what are the strategies they are working, and what are the related business risk. Is that I will give another two examples for this. I will give an example for a banking. I will give an example of telecom. Is that telecom? I will give this example. It makes really interesting to you. Initially, first we have only Omantel. Is it right? Omantel. What happens? Slowly, what will happen? They call it as Navras, and now they call it as Orido. Is it right? It came into picture. What will happen? Competition has been increased, prices has been decreased, business risk, is it right? Business risk will be there. Slowly what happens? Automatically they are coming with another bigger player, is it right? Vodafone. Is it what will happen? They will assess, yes. Is it? There will be a competition in prices. Is that there will be a competition in technology? Is it right? There will be a competition in prices. There will be a competition. Automatically, what will happen? The profits will have impact. Is it right? The business will have impact. These things you should assess. That yes, a new player will come. What will happen? Is right? Now measure what we are doing in the process. We are measuring and reviewing what financial performance. When we are talking about a financial performance, we are taking the help of what? Here we are taking the help of ratio analysis. And most importantly, we'll say what are the internal controls as. If the internal controls are effective, is it? If the internal controls are effective, is it right? What will happen? The risk will be less. Is that this is the reason why we have to understand, review this immediately. Once class is over, take 15 minutes before you go for bed, you sleep. 15 minutes, just revise this slides. Okay. Now, how does an auditor understand the entity and environment? How you will do? Is that what are the sources? You will always make your inquiries with the management. Always make it a point. This is what most important. You should have discussion. Talk to the people. That's very important. Know what you are doing, what you are not doing. Talk to different people. As an auditor, you have to talk professionally related to the work. But you have to discuss, you have to inquire. We have to talk with the management, you have to talk with the auditors. And most importantly, we have to talk with others means we are very clearly we have to talk with whom? Other stakeholders. Next, what you are doing, how to understand that, you have to analyze it. Is it right? You have to analyze procedures. What you are doing, see what is the basic concept of ratio. Here we are taking only ratio analysis. Is that here in audit we are only taking ratio analysis. We will compare 2020 with 2021. We will analyze it. Is that we will analyze it? Is that what happened last year? What happened this year? What happened? See, we will say what happened in 2020, what happened in 2021, and what happens in 2022. They'll say that yes, 2021 it is less. Yeah, because of that COVID, all those things. Fine. We will understand. You have to give reasons. Is it right? You should not just go. We have to know why what we are doing. We are taking it we have covered this in a relative terms. When we say in a relative terms, in terms of percentage, in terms of days, in terms of times. Ratio analysis. Is that we have to take that into consideration. That makes real important thing. Is that we are analyzing what happened last year, what happened this year, why there is a difference, what is the reason of difference. Every time substantive procedures, the moment you say substantive procedures, what you are doing, we will come to know that yes, last year is this much, before that it is this much. Is that why there is a difference? Is there any difference? We will cover this in your examination questions. Is right? That's why we are talking about analytical procedures. What we will do? We will always, an auditor will always make some observations. You will observe how the things will work. You will go to the client place. Understand point? You will not just sit in your office and you will do the thing. You will physically go to the client place. You will observe. You will inspect. What you are doing whenever you are writing the answer, is it right? To what will do? To ensure, is it right? To observe. You have to use this, is it right? Wherever it is applicable. Is it? You to inspect. Never you have to use to check. Forget about this word. Check is out of the dictionary. In auditor, the moment you put right check, nobody is checking. Is that what you are doing? You will inspect, you will observe, you will, where is that? You will to verify. Is it? What you are doing? We are matching the things. Is it right? These things we have to use. We will observe, we will inspect. You should know prior period knowledge. Is it right? What I told you just now, when you are doing the things, is it right? When you are doing the things, is it? Where is that? Yes. Is that prior period knowledge? We are not talking only about the things. We will take 2020, we take 2021, we will say we don't have 2022. Is that previous? What happens previous year? Last year what happened? This year what happened? Why there is a change? Is it right? Why there is a change? Reasons for change. It leads to audit risk. Okay? Client acceptance or continuation of policies. We always say whether the client has changing the policies or not. Discussion by the audit team. Within your own team you have to discuss. From there only you can understand the entity. Is it right? Information from other engagements taken by the undertaker. Other engagements is nothing but in terms of what? In terms of reviews. Is it right? In terms of reviews. Is it? In terms of reviews are other audit services. You can put it very clearly, non-statutory. Is it? Non-statutory. Means when you work on, want to know the entity, what are the, how you can best understand the entity from not from one source, but you have to explore other options as such. Is it? Now it's little bit complicated. I don't want to. I thought of removing it. Then I said that no. If it is complicated, also it has to be there. Understand? Is it right? Everything you should know. What it says. See the thing. Is that it's not complicated. It's little bit cumbersome. That's all. Is it right? You should know the. This is the first one. Is it right? This is the first one. You should know the nature of entity. Again, A, B, C, okay, A, B, C, D, okay, A, B, C, D, okay, this is D. Is that? You should know the objectives. This is point number 2. Is it? You should know the objectives. What is the expansion, use of it, industrial developments, what are the new products. Is it? You should know the selection and application of the procedures. Is it right? You should know this. Is it what they are doing? You should know the financial performance. Is it right? You should know the financial performance. It's little bit complicated, but it is. We should not ignore because it is difficult. Is it right? We should understand how it will work. We should, as a matter of entity, what you have to do? You have to take you should understand what are the internal controls. What are the controlling activities? Who are monitoring control? What is the control environment? Is it right? 1, 2, 3. Is it again A, B, and C? Is it right? A, B, and C. We will cover each and everything in subsequent chapters. Is it right? We want to know what is the industry as such. Is it right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the 6. Why we want to know the industry? Now you can understand. You should know the taxation. In some cases you don't have tax. Is it right? Value added tax. You don't have tax. In some cases you will have tax. Is it right? Which products will have a tax? Which projects will not have tax? How much the companies are paying tax? Is it right? On the profits. Is it right? You should know what are the regulatory environments. You know what is it is a cyclical or seasonal activity. Is it right? Tourism. Is it? The market and the competition. You should know what is the industry requirements. Like this. Principles are there. Energy, supply, cost, oil industry. Is it right? definitely it will have more fluctuations. Foreign banking, because of currency, it will have more fluctuations. You should have a complete view of the entity and its environment. Is it right? This is the, you put the, don't get confused everywhere. The moment you are going to have four, this is A, B, C, D and E. Is it right? Is that by that time we complete the module, by November end you will have all the things in your understanding. Is it right? A, B, C, D and E. Is it right? Likewise, you have all those things into consideration. Are you clear about this? This is where focus on major areas. Okay, focus on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is the nature of entity? What is the objectives? What is the selection and application of policies? Is it right? And how the financial performance, internal controls, and the industry as such. Are you clear about this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, clear.
Good. Is it? Now slowly answer. What we do? It is that having, once you have obtained the understanding, having obtained an understanding entity, the auditor, then only you can know the risk. You should not say that I can assess the risk straight away. You cannot do it. This is the way. First you understand, then only you can assess the risk of material misstatements of the financial statements. This is the, now you can see. First you should understand the entity, then you should know what is the risk factors. What you will do, to do this, the auditor should identify risk throughout the process of obtaining. At every stage, is it right? At every stage of this, is it right? At every stage of this, is it? At every stage of this, what will happen? The more clarity, is it right? The more clarity, the more understanding. Of risk. You have the internal controls. Is it right? When you say internal control, see the thing. What are they in internal controls? You are talking about information systems, assessing process, environment is there, monitoring is there, control activities are there. Automatically you will say that yes, if internal control is good, effective, risk is less. Is it right? You are talking about industry, yes, regulatory environment is tough, risk is less. Is it? At every stage you will be in a position to get more in-depth, more micro level information about the client. Most importantly, you should understand the client, then only you will be able to understand the risk process. Is that assess the identity? If you are saying that yes, they assess the identity, you will say, assume very clearly, make it a point. You are talking in terms of a manufacturing. Is it? You are doing a audit for manufacturing. In the manufacturing, what will happen? There will be lot of involvement of inventory. Is it right? Manufacturing lot. Inventory, we are talking in terms of what? Inventory with respect to purchases, as well as inventory is also involved with respect to sales. Is it? Now, you have the procedures to not only do the audit for inventory, but also you have to do for the purchases and you have to do for the sales. Again, when you are doing the sales, what will happen? You will have to do, there is an audit risk with respect to receivables, there will be an audit risk with respect to cash. Getting your point? You have to do. Now, this has to be very carefully drafted. That is the reason. Identify the risk, evaluate whether they relate more pervasively for the financial statements as a whole. How it is involved? Is that in when you are doing this, we are doing a evaluation for procedures for the purchases, procedures for the inventory, procedures for the sales, receivables and cash. Somewhere down the line in lecture 7. Okay, somewhere down the line in lecture 7. One question will be there on this. Any one. Is it right? Why we want to know? We want to know where the risk is high, where the risk is low. Is it? That's why we have to pervasively, what most probably, how it is going to have on the financial statements. Relate the risk to what can go wrong at the assertion level. Is it what I told you examples about assertion just now at the beginning of the class? Tell me fast.
Cut off.
Cut off. Very important. Remember, I am asking you, cut off.
Classification.
Pardon?
Accuracy.
Accuracy. Good. Next. Valuation.
Valuation.
Is that I'm writing another adding rights and obligations. Is it right? Rights and obligation. You have the right. If you are having the asset, you should have the ownership. Is it right? If you have the inventory, you should have the ownership of that. Is it right? That's very clear. Rights and obligation. Is that cut off? Valuation, accuracy. Is it right? So many assertions will be there, applicable for all these things. Is it right? Differently. Some are applicable, some are not applicable to. It change from one element to another element. But overall, you have to keep this in mind. Is that you should say relate the risk to what can go wrong at the assertion level. Cut off. Why we are saying it is a cut off? Is it right? We should make it a point that we are doing it for this 31st December. What is there before 31st December and what is there after 31st December? Very important. Understand what? That is the cutoff. That's what we have to make it an assertion that whether we have done cutoff at 31st December appropriately or not. If we have not doing, then there will be a material misstatement. Is that? Keep this in mind. We will cover, we will go. Is that? Now, consider the likelihood of risk causing material misstatements. What is the probability? Is it right? Definitely, if you are not, what is the chance of, and if there is no internal control, what is the probability that it will have material misstatements? Is it right? This is why the auditor should make a clear picture among his understanding. Is that? Now, why the auditor must also consider significant risk. That what happens, factor that give risk, significant risk into, there is a chance of fraud. Is it right? People will do, very simple. I'm not saying, see, in company, in business, in organizations, people will do this. Is it right? That is the reason we are studying this. If there is no situation, we will not study this subject. Is at this point. There will be a possibility of frauds. Is it right? The relationship with economic, accounting and other developments. See, if the market is good, is it right? If the market is good, what will happen? Definitely the profits will be more. Is that? There will be a growth. Got my point? That's very simple. Is that you should understand how the things will work. What is the risk factors? Because of COVID, markets went down. It is a significant risk. Is it right? Markets went down. Profits went down. There is no growth. Is it right? Oil prices are increasing. What will happen? They say very simple. You should assess. Unless there is a Ukraine war is there, what are its implications on the economy? Understand what? Very, very simple. You should, it's not like that you should only focus on one area. You have to have a complete understanding about how the China market is globally expanding, how it is going to have impact on other products, other markets, how the dollar is going to have impact, how the rate of interest is going to have impact. People are saying that 2023 there will be a recession. You should have very clear that yes, you have to work it out on these areas. how the stock markets are working. Is it? You should have a complete picture. That is the reason the moment you go up in the ladder, up in the organization hierarchy of the management, in the auditing firm, you should have a very clear picture that these are the things that has to be looked into. Is that? However, this degree of subjectivity, what is the basic reasons you should know? We should know, not only work on just an assumptions. You should know the reasons. Is it right? Reasons. If there are any unusual transactions that happens, is it right? What is the unusual transactions? Basically, see the thing. When you are doing the audit, 31st December, is it right? You will make sure that what happened last 15 days and what happened next 15 days. Very important. Any unusual transactions has taken place, there is an audit risk. Get it? There is an audit risk. Clearly, you are just starting to know the subject. That you should have professional skepticism. You should have professional behavior. You should know what happened last week. What happened in order to inflate the profits, in order to increase the profits, in order to decrease the profits. There will be some transactions. If there is any unusual transactions, immediately you should ask, inquire why this has happened. Significant transactions to the related party, to only one party. If you are dealing with only one party and we are not having any other options, or we are working with only a internal group, again there is a question mark. Okay? And what is the complexity? You are talking any confusion about the transactions as such. These will lead to audit risk. Is that if there is any concept is there, this is what we are talking about this lecture as such. It will increase what? It will increase audit risk. For this, what you have to do, you have to make an audit response. This is the requirement of the question. Is it right? Why we are studying this? Why we are focusing this much time here is to know where the risk will be there, exist. Unless we can't identify the risk, we cannot have the response. Is it right? We cannot have the response.
Sir,
Yes.
can you please repeat the unusual transaction?
Yes, one. How unusual transactions will work? Is it when you are having, assume you are talking in terms of sales. Is it right? You are talking in terms of expenses. Is it right? We are discussing somewhere in terms of you have this other comprehensive income, OCI. Is it right? OCI. Only financial income statement. We are not talking about the other things. Okay. Now, we will somewhere we are talking in terms of cash also, cash dealing. Is it? Unusual transactions we will see. Is that? See the things. What happens whenever you evaluate a financial statements? Is it right? Financial statements are evaluated on different levels. Is it right? One we are doing on yearly comparison. One we are doing on half yearly comparison, and one we are doing on quarterly comparison. Is it 2020 and 2021? Then what will they do? The first 6 months of 2000, this is from January to June, is it right? And this is from July to December. Again we will do the same thing, January to June and July to December. Again we will make it on a quarterly basis. We make January to March and April to June. Same thing happens here. It is right. July to September and October to December. Okay. Now I will just focus here. Is it right? I will just focus on this area. Okay. It applies to other also. Is it right? It applies to other also. Now, you suspect, is it right? You find there is something wrong. What we have done, we said that we have to do analytical procedure. Now, assume last year, January to March, the transactions worth is 20,000. Fine, last year. Now, January, again what you are doing, here we are talking about January to March. Is that? Assume it should be 20,000 plus or minus. Is it right? Plus or minus. Take plus or minus 10%. It plus or minus 2,000. Fine. Now, fine. It will be agreed. Now, what happens? Last year it is 20,000. Last year it is historical figure. Okay. This year, when you are doing an audit, assume that the something is going to be not 20 plus 10%, but it is happening how much? Assume that the amount is 45,000. Sales, expense, any item, expenses, is a depreciation. Assume, okay, if there is depreciation, take example, last year depreciation is 20,000. This year depreciation is 45,000. What is the option of depreciation? You have to have a professional skepticism. Yes, 45,000 has been happened for depreciation. Yes, they have bought new machinery. They have done this because of new machinery. Again, new machinery has been purchased by the board of directors approval. New machinery is needed for the current requirements. What is the procedure they have done for the old machinery and what is the procedure they have done for new machinery? You have to go in detail. Procedures. If you get a reasonable response from the management, you can justify, yes, 45,000 depreciation is agreeable. Agreeable. Now, an unusual transaction. Assume the depreciation is 20,000 and the depreciation is 45,000. Because of increase in depreciation, profits will be less. Is it? Profits will be less. Listen to this recording, then only you will understand. Okay? Profits will, I am not writing all. Profits will be less. Instantly, if you are not getting a good response, the right response from the management about the justification of this 45,000, then you will give an report with respect to some conditions. Is it right? You will give report with some conditions subject to the matter. You will add this. We will cover in the last lecture, but I am telling you this. You will give the report stating subject to the matter of depreciation, other things are true and fair. Means you are not getting a reasonable explanation about this amount as such. It is an unusual transaction. Is it? It is an unusual transaction. Whenever you are performing an audit, you always have to verify, match, analyze what happened during this year and what happened during the last year. There should be some plan. Now, assume 2020 the things are very, very bad. 2021 they are improving. 2022 they are improving much better. If there is a reasonable response, you will get convinced. If you are not getting a reasonable response for any unusual transactions, definitely you will give a report where you will state very specifically subject to this matter. Is it right? This type of transactions are going to be called as a unusual transactions. Is it clear? Any doubt? You ask me. Is it okay, Faiza? Yes. Fine. This is where it happens. Got my point? Now, what we have done, we have done something with respect to 315. Is it right? If I am right, is it right? We have done something with respect to what? 315. Is it right? 315. Identifying. Is it right? You have another one. Is it right? You have another one. We don't want, in advance, in F6, you will do this. Right now you will not do this. Is it right? In F6, P6 you will do this. What is the response? Is it right? What is the response? The audit response to assess risk. The auditors need to obtain, is that if you find any risk related to this, you wish to have sufficient appropriate audit evidence. You will ask for evidence. As you say, 20,000 and 45,000. Immediately, what will be your response? Your response is, what is the auditor response? You will ask, what is the reason of this? What is the reason of this? You will say that why there is last year why it is 20,000 and this year why it is 45,000. You want sufficient audit evidence. If management provides sufficient audit evidence, fine. There is nothing is there. You will not look into it. Overall response, including emphasizing the team, the importance. Why we are doing this? We are emphasizing what you are doing. We are always have a questioning mind. We question it. Then you will allocate more staff. Definitely, it is a material. Getting my point? It is a material. It is a example of materiality. Now you will understand the moment you will do practical things. It is an example of materiality. Is it 20,000 to 45,000? What you will do? You allocate more time. You will using your experts. You will explore all other options. You will explore all other options, or providing more supervision. You will not let it out as an auditor. Okay? You will not say that yes, fine, okay. No, never. You will have one questioning mind. You will allocate more staff. You use experts if need, and you provide more supervision. You want to go it into detail because see the thing. Individually, it is how much? 45,000. Fine. Individual. If you group it, aggregate, individual it is individual. Now I am giving you all the theoretical one. Individually it is 45,000. If you aggregate it, is it? If you assume you are having 10 transactions like this, what will happen? It will be how much? 450. Get my point? If you do it individually, it is fine, 45,000. But aggregate, it will be 450. Just imagine. That is what we are talking about, the audit risk. That is why we are talking about the audit risk. Response to the risk of material misstatements at the assertion level, at the basic level, at the level of valuation, at the level of rights, at the level of cutoff, is it? At the level of accuracy. We will not go, once it is passed, we will go to the source. We will go to the source. Assertion is nothing but the source. Is that? Include what? You will have test of controls and you will do some substantive procedures. You have done this. What is 45,000? Is that you will just make it a point. You will go into 45,000. What are the reasons? Is it? What are the reasons for that? You will say whether, see, yes, management will say that yes, we have bought machinery. We made an expansion for this. We have allocated budget for that. We have the approval for that. Isn't it? We have purchased it. We have all the invoices. We have followed all the procedures. Fine. Close the matter. Close the matter. Nothing is there. But you should make sure that the procedures has been followed or not. That is the basic objective behind this. Is it? That is what? What is the response? That is what is the risk and what is the response. Focus on this. Very simple. It makes the difference. Is it? Now, what is the control and what is the test of control? Fine. These both are related and both are will ask same time. Is it right? Now, what is the control? Assume. Is it? You are purchasing. Example. Put it with the example, you will understand much better. Is it? You are purchasing. Is it? You are purchasing an asset. Is it right? You are purchasing an asset. What will happen? You will say that there is a proposal. First you have to give a proposal. Then you have to invite the quotations. Is that? See the things. When you have to be a proposal, you have to have a quotation. We should have a review. Is it right? Then we should select and you have to place the order. I am just writing. Is it right? This. I am just writing a simple idea. Is it right? This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4 and this is 5. Usually, is it right? You want to purchase anything, you will put in proposal, you will ask for a quotation, review, select, place the order. Is it right? Place the order. We are not talking about receiving. Fine. Now, what is the test of control? That's where what you will do, you will ensure that, understand this, you will understand anytime this concept. Anytime. What is the test of control? Ensure that these procedures are followed. That's all. You are an auditor. Is it right? You are an auditor. Controlled by the management. Is it right? Controlled by the management. Now you are an auditor. What you will do? You will go to the client place. Fine. Good. You will observe. You will inspect. Is it right? You will verify. Is it right? This you think that you will examine. Got my point? These are the things. What you will do? You understand this. You will observe. Is it right? You will observe. You will inspect. Is it right? You will examine. These words are very important. You have to use. these words only. Is it? You will examine. Is it? You analyze. You will not check. I will never use the word check. 100% nobody will use that. Is it right? The moment you use check, assume you are losing 5 marks. It is very lethal. You should not use. You observe. What you observe, you inspect. Yes, whether proposal is there, whether quotation is there, whether they have done the review, they have selected the best one, and they have placed the order. Testing the controls. Understand? Testing the controls. Very, very important. Test of controls are audit procedures designed to evaluate the operating effectiveness of controls. That's all. Is it? Test of controls are the audit procedures. Got your point? Design. Why? To operating, whether we are operating perfectly or not. Proposal, quotation, review, select, place the order. If you are going by stage, is it right? If you are going by stage, what will happen? It will help us to prevent or detect, or you can make correcting. If an auditor will, now you understand? Yeah, it's very easy. It's the only thing you have to understand. That's very simple. You should understand what? If you are doing like this, you can understand, yes, sometimes review is not done, they are selecting the things, quote a price. Is that? Now, you should know whether you have done it or not. I will add another one. I got in my mind. Is it right? You will have the approved list. Is it right? When you are proposal, you are sending proposal to what? You will not send proposal to everyone. You will send the proposal to only the approved list of suppliers. Very important. Are you sending to everyone, or you are sending to approved list of suppliers also? I am giving you the answer for the questions right now. If you are doing this, the operating effectiveness of controls, what is the advantage we will have? We can prevent, we can detect, or we can correct at the assertion, at the source only. We don't want to make the problem bigger one. We want to solve the problem at the source level only. When carrying out the test of controls, an auditor will they will inquire, they will do a reperformance, and they will do an inspection. Is it right? They will do an inspection. Means what they are doing? They are observing. I have not written. They observe. Is it right? They will inquire. They will reperform. Is it? Reperform. They will examine. They will analyze the things. You are an auditor. Just think. You are an auditor. You are going to a client place and you want to know what they have done. What you will do? You will inquire. You will ask whether you are doing this or not. Is it right? If you are not doing, you will reperform. You will do the things. Yes. Okay. Fine. How you are doing? I will just check. I will be part of your system. I want to know how the things are flowing from one place to another place. From one stage to another place, how things are moving. You want to know. You will inspect. Go. You physically go and you say that I want to inspect how you are doing. Is it right? Are you doing? That is where we want to make a test of controls. Controls will be there in the place. Controls will be there in the organization. Test of controls means you are testing whether the controls are effective or not. Effectiveness of controls. Is that you are evaluating the effectiveness of the controls. Is that most specific one as such. The first one is controls and test of controls. The second one is substantive procedures. I will complete this concept and I'll stop here because tomorrow we are going to work it on this. Is right? If you are completing this, we are completing a major part of this syllabus. It's a major part, because without this you will not have a question paper. Take my word. Without this you will not have a question paper as such. Substantive are the procedures to detect material misstatements at the assertion level. Is a substantive procedure means you will assertion. See, when you will identify that depreciation is last year 20,000 and depreciation is 45,000, unusual item. You want to go in detail. Is that you will say that what is the procedure detect at the assertion level. We'll say that whether there is anything with respect to valuation. Is there anything with respect to purchases, rights? Rights means purchase. Have you purchased it? When you have purchased it, how much it cost? Is it? When you will say whether it has been done with respect to cutoff, whether we have taken last year to this year or this year to last year, whether you have identified in the correct financial year or not. Is it? You have identified, you have placed in the correct financial year, cutoff is there. Is it? You will say valuation. Is it? You will want to make sure that things are done as per the conceptual financial framework. Now you understand financial frame as you have followed the accounting policies. There are two types. There are two types. One, you are talking in terms of test of detail and substantive procedure, analytical procedures. We don't work much on test of details, but we will always work on substantive analytical procedures. They will ask you a question about substantive procedures as such. Substantive procedures must always be carried on material items. Whenever we say, is it a substance, you say, yes, there is a 20,000, I am writing this. Now you can understand what is the materiality. Yesterday you don't have that much clarity on materiality, I know. Yesterday when I am talking about materiality, you thought what is the materiality, individually or aggregate. No, this is the materiality. Last year 25,000, this year 40,000. It is a material. It is amount is material. Is there any misstatements? Is there? Is there anything which has went wrong? You have to make it sure. Some degree of substantive tensions will always have to be out. Is it right? Some means at some stage you are an auditor, you are going to the client place, you have to do substantive procedures. At least for some selective items, so that the things will be clear. On which items you will do? You will not do on it. You will use. You will see which type of items here you will go. You will say any significant transaction. Which items you will do substantive procedures? You will do with respect to any reasons. Is it? We are talking in terms of any unusual items. You will do substantive procedure. Any related party, one part with known party. Last year you have done 20,000. This year you have done 45,000. Again, you will do substantive procedures. If there is any complexity of transaction, confusion is there. Is there loss on sale or fire? Is there something buying, selling, exchange? All those things are there. Again, you will do substantive procedures. Is it? You will do substantive procedures on those things where you find there is a significant risk. You will find a test of control is different, substantive procedures is different. People will have this confusion. That is the reason why students will lose marks. Is it? Substantive procedure means you have to go in detail. For everything we will not do substantive procedures. For only those items which we find there is a risk attached to this. Is it? There is a risk attached to this. Is it? Test of details are appropriate to gain the information. Is it? We are what we are doing, we are when we do the test of details, we only get the information. Whereas, if you do analytical procedures, we will get what? We'll get an appropriate large volumes of transactions. Means substantive analytical procedures, we are getting what? We are getting the reasons. In test of details, we are getting the only information. Getting it? Is it? Test of means that detail, we are getting the information. In analytical position, we are getting the test of details rather than analytical procedures are likely to be more appropriate in the matter which have as significant risk. Is it? Means what is more important? Now you can see unusual items, related party transactions, complexity of transaction. The moment you sense, you will have your own judgment. The moment you have your own judgment, you will do a substantive procedures. Got it? This is where we are going to work. What we have learned, almost we have done the concepts. Almost we have done the concept. Tomorrow we will continue this. Nothing will happen, inshallah. Is that almost we have done the concept? What are the concepts we have done? We have done 4 different concepts. Remember this. I will ask you at any point of time. Is that now you have to revise every day. You have to revise 15 to 30 minutes minimum. What we have done in this lecture? Audit risk. We have done materiality. We have done knowing the entity, and we have done the test of controls and substantive procedures. What they say, audit risk is the key syllabus area, and you are very likely to get a question on risk. Key area. This could be tested either with respect to section A or section B. It is very important that you understand what is audit risk, differentiate between business risk. This area of syllabus is best tackled by practicing. We will do that, okay? And we are going to work on that area. Is it right? When we are coming back tomorrow, we will start from here and we will do this one, plus we will do some more other questions. Okay? Now concepts are over. We are focusing on the examination questions.